The Beach FM Business Lunch Show, brought to you by PlaceMakers Kapiti Horowhenua. Together we're building New Zealand.
Welcome back to the Business Lunch Show on Beach FM 106.3 on your Tuesday afternoon. Let's talk HR now. Let's talk recruitment in these uncertain times. And let's welcome to the show from Star People HR and Recruitment, it's Julia Palmer. G'day, Julia.
Hello there, Damian. How are you?
I'm doing good at this time. How are you doing?
We're doing pretty good, actually. I have to say, we've been pretty busy.
Yeah, well, it's a trying time at the moment for a lot of people. We've seen a lot of numbers come out. But before we get to that stuff, first and foremost on the show, what we do is we like to get to know the people we're talking to. So recruitment, it's a tricky game. I did it myself for 4 years. How did you get started and how did Star People come about?
Well, it's quite a long story, actually. We've been running a business up here on the coast for since 2003, so quite a long time, about 17 years. And I started the business that long ago just because there was a bit of a gap in the market for actually a good recruitment company and a good temp agency. There weren't any agencies up here at all at that time. So we started off and merged businesses with an HR company just a few years ago now, about 7 years ago, so that we can now provide all of your HR and recruitment temporary staffing services all in one place. So it's a one-stop HR shop, if you like, for small to medium businesses that haven't really got the resource to have their own HR department, so they can outsource it to us, and that's how we like to work with our business partners that we work for.
It's a brilliant way to have the spin on it because HR's it's a tricky beast in itself for a lot of people to keep up with legislation, WorkSafe, all those things. So I'm guessing you take care of all that.
Yeah, we do. So, and you're absolutely right. You know, for small to medium businesses whose business is plumbing or, you know, being an electrician, actually keeping up with that sort of stuff is really, really tricky. And particularly over this past 3-month period where we've had lots of questions about wage subsidies and what to do if you're making people redundant or other ways of working around not having to lay your staff off, that kind of thing. We can give the right advice to tell people what process they need to follow in order to do it correctly. So we are kind of like an outsourced HR department for a lot of businesses, and like I said, that's the way that we like to work. The legislative stuff has been very tricky recently.
Well, in the last few years, really, it's one thing after another to keep up with. And it is an ever-changing landscape. You're right. You know, there's always new bits of stuff coming out, and we like to communicate that information to our clients as quickly as possible so they're prepared and they know what to do. Because quite often, you know, people aren't looking at their documentation or they're not updating stuff when they're busy running their own businesses. They just don't have the time to do that. So, yeah, we can help them with that stuff as well. No disrespect to plumbers and electricians, but they're good on the tools. They're not so good on the paperwork. So I completely understand.
I think a lot of them have a really good handle on stuff now. It's true of every business, even our own business. You know, you're busy actually running the business and dealing with the HR stuff that can be a real minefield at times, and even recruitment, which can take up a lot of time, is just something that people sometimes just don't have the energy to do. So it's nice to have someone else that you can call on and say, hey, you know, what do I do with this situation? And, you know, we give free advice to people. We figure that what goes around comes around, basically. And so we're very happy to help out with any small questions that people might have. Just to make sure that they are doing it right. We'd rather them do it right than have to pick up the bits at the bottom of the cliff at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Hey, you mentioned before there was a gap for a good recruitment agency out in Kapiti Close. There was a boom in the last 10 years where everybody seemed to put their name against it, but what sets you apart? Because there's a lot of dodgy ones, and one of the biggest keys that you named before is communication, and I think massively in HR and recruitment, if communication is your foremost, then everything else kind of falls into place.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we are quite different in the fact that we're a generalist recruiter. Most of the other companies that have had apprentices up here in the past are labour hire companies. Right. So we do things differently. We do some labour hire, but that's not our probably our main offering that we do. Most of the roles that we have are really more sort of general administrative type roles, and they can be everything from general managers, sales managers, right through to IT technicians, high level analysts, all sorts of people. So we've got quite a broad field that we work in, not just the narrow field of labour hire. That's not kind of not our forte. Yeah.
Many hats, not just the hard hat.
Yeah. But it's really, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure to work with businesses up here in Kapiti over the past 17 years. It's lovely to get to know how people work, and it's really, really very satisfying to help businesses grow when you know that they've got the right processes and the right staff in place, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to assist people to grow their business in the best way possible.
Oh, absolutely. It's, you're changing lives. You're helping change lives and setting them up. And that's one of the things I always loved about it. Hey, let's talk pre-COVID. How was everything looking around the region? How were our percentages of unemployment, people looking for jobs, etc.?
Honestly, I think pre-COVID, things were looking pretty healthy, actually. Yeah. There was a lot of business. There were lots of roles becoming available as people were seeking to expand their businesses. So it was looking really very positive right up until the 26th of March or whenever it was that we went into lockdown. That was a bit of a shock, and certainly we've seen the ramifications of that coming through just starting in the last sort of month or so, as people do have to look at what's going on for their business in the future and how they're going to be able to sort of survive the loss of income that they've had and how to build a good team going forward. So, we are starting to see a flow of redundancies coming through, which is really, it's sad and it's painful. And I don't know what that's going to look like in the future. It's really, really hard to sort of gaze into the crystal ball and say, well, how long is this going to continue for? So there has been some contraction in the market, but in saying that, there are also still people that are looking for staff out there as well. So I'd say actually, in comparison to pre-COVID now, I think we're probably about the same level as what we were at the beginning of March. We've got plenty of vacancies that we're looking to fill, and we've got quite a lot of temp staff out helping businesses, and I think that's possibly an area that may grow because if people are a little bit concerned about taking on permanent staff at this point, then they might consider taking on temporary staff members instead to fill the gap until they kind of know where they're at and where they're headed. So actually, from our point of view, at this juncture, it's looking not as doom and gloom as what you would think. It is looking relatively positive, and it is, I think, about people out there who are looking for work making that mental shift, I suppose, about what other roles they might consider in the workplace rather than looking for a similar type of role that they've done before. There are lots of roles out there, but it's just what you're prepared to turn your hands to. Mm.
Yeah, well, I've always found recruitment also helps people think differently. Like, as you just said, one thing that we've been focusing on the last 8 weeks is the pivoting, thinking differently, adapting to this very uncertain time. There's a lot of skills sitting at home right now, probably listening, thinking, what is next? But as you said, there are different roles that you may not have ever thought about before, but you've got all the boxes ticked. You just got to come in and ask the questions, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely you do. I think the other thing that is challenging though is that generally speaking, Kapiti has a lower rate of remuneration than what you would normally get for a similar role in Wellington. So if you're transitioning from a role in Wellington City to come to even a similar role in the Kapiti region, you're going to get paid less, and that can sometimes be a deal breaker for some people who want to work a bit closer to home. They can't afford it, so they will go back to Wellington and they'll try and find another role there. But other people who put more value onto your lifestyle, can see the advantages of working close to home, so that's not such a big thing for them. But it's a tricky situation in this particular region because we do have that disparity of ability to earn.
Yeah, but I think after COVID, it's definitely taught us that, we can adjust, we can work from satellite offices or from home, and also the commute. I know a lot of people that were way more productive working at home without that 40 to an hour drive or train or public transport to get to work.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think it's been a massive breakthrough, really. Lots of people have been talking about working differently up till this point, but actually having to do it and seeing that it does work and that people are productive and that they have a much more fulfilled life, really, because they are able to spend more time with their family rather than sitting on a train or sitting in a car for those 2 hours a day. It's really made a lot of people think about how they're going to work going forward, which is great. And it's made a lot of businesses think about how they're going to manage their staffing going forward too. I mean, I know some quite large corporations who've just gone, actually, do you know what, this works for us as well, because of course, if they don't have so many people coming into the office, they don't need as much office space, the rent will go down. So it's got a lot of advantages for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, well, lastly, how do you think people need to maybe think a bit different or act a bit different, or just some of the questions they should be thinking of in this uncertain time?
I think if candidates are facing, if they're facing redundancy, I think looking at, as you said before, the other transferable skills they've got and looking at what they might like to do. This is a real opportunity, and
Absolutely.
I think that's one of the other things that we've got to look at. In a really positive manner. It's an opportunity to change and to do things differently. And if they have something that they're really passionate about that they might like to do, or that they might have thought, I wish I had done this, or I'd always wanted to study X, Y, Z. Now's the opportunity to do that. There's lots of assistance from the government for people to go back into retraining, and there will be more of that going forward. So I think that's certainly something that people could look at, or just look at the stuff that they really enjoy doing in their current role and finding another position that might have more elements of that. I guess the thing that's restraining is the people's need to earn a certain amount of income, and that can be challenging. But as I said, it's an opportunity to do things and change life and enjoy it better, I think. So, yeah, I do. My heart goes out to people that are in that position, but of course they can always come and see us, or we can put them on the box. And if we have something that might tickle their fancy, we can certainly give them a call and let them know about that and discuss it further.
Definitely. No, it's definitely been a good time to pivot and restart. How even the sport guy gets a business show during the week. So, lastly, as we always ask Julia, where can people find you? How can they get in touch?
Easy peasy. So you can find us online. So it's www.starpeople.nz. No co in there. And we've got offices based down at Seaview Road at Paraparamu Beach. So feel free to drop in. But it's usually best to just give us a ring first and organise a time, because we're not always in the office. We're quite often out visiting our clients. So best to get in touch via email or give us a call anytime.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time today to talk HR and recruitment. All the best with everybody out there and helping people get back on their feet, etc. I appreciate your time. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks, Damian. Really nice to talk to you too. You have a great day.